Hello. As a highly opinionated person, I like to give my opinion on things. Duh. And while, yes, doing standard D&D videos on certain topics is very good for that, having something to jump off of is also pretty good for that. It's even better for somebody who doesn't write their scripts and improvs everything. So I feel like doing D&D horror stories or other content like that will bring out information from me that I like to say that is good for D&D, and I like to give my opinion on things. It's not just gonna be reading stuff and like, okay, good day, bye. I'm gonna give thoughts. I'm gonna talk about it. So we're gonna go over some D&D horror stories today. Here, so I am going into this blind, and I am reacting to the story as you guys are. So here we go. And if the title interests me, railroaded by a party member. I was in a campaign with 3 other players that eventually led us to an island with a 3-way feud going on. Werewolves versus vampire hunters. Okay. Being a vampire / succubus hybrid for my character, I was immediately on good terms with the vampire coven. I can see where this is going. Immediately, none of the options were great, but I was hoping to forge an alliance with the group who could be reached. The vampires, I will admit, part of my reasoning is that my character couldn't resist a pretty face. And the leader of the coven was not only described as the most beautiful woman my character had ever seen, but she and I also shared a common enemy, the one who literally turned me and treated my character as a little more than a servant / soldier who couldn't disobey his orders. Okay, so far so good. This has interesting story happening. Let's see what happens. One of the party members, pretty much every chance he got, ended up pissing off members of the coven or killing them by feeding one who was wresting holy water laced blood. Oh shit, okay. I wonder, like, I feel like we need a little more information on the history of this character, and like if they hate vampires and if they know you're a vampire. We might get into that. We might see that, but I feel like there might be a reason to this. If this person knew that their party member was also a vampire and would want to side with the vampires, then it's pretty fucked up. Like, immediately off the bat, fucked up. If not, then this could be shaky. I'm going as far as to insinuate to a church where the hunters were stationed that I was a vampire. Okay, so he knew. Okay. The one time he didn't was during the boss fight where one of the vampires ended up being a traitor, just standing there while the other 2 party members and I were trying to deal with her. The rest of the party had to convince him to heal me when I got knocked out, and the other 2 were on low health, as he didn't want to interfere with his fight, stating that the boss had been nice to him once. By the time we defeated her, every vampire in the coven was either staked or had their coffins destroyed. Okay. I ended up leaving the party as he convinced our party leader for this section, who was already exhausted, and the tie-breaking vote to get the group to leave the island before I had a chance to do any kind of damage control. I wasn't sure if it was an overreaction to leave the party and drop from the campaign, but I felt railroaded by his actions and constant antagonism during this section of the campaign. I can handle a few bad rolls here and there, but to have to deal with one party member constantly undermining what I was trying to do when I had convinced the other 2 at least let me try was much for me. Okay, so if I comprehended this correctly, your character, or the OP's character, wanted to work with the vampire and the coven, a very specific coven, because they were both vampires and they had the both backstory. They had the common enemy. But this other character, this party member, said, "Fuck that! I'm gonna kill vampires because that's what I want to do." So I don't know if I would call that railroading per se, because railroading is more so of a story thing that DMs do. But I see where this person's coming at. They wanted to do something with the story, and they had a very clear idea of like, hey, this is related to me. I want to deal with this. Like I have some stakes. I have some stakes in this, and they did not feel like that this player has listened at all. So yeah, it's shitty of this player, of the I don't know what class they are. They could be a paladin or cleric that has a hatred towards undead or whatever. We don't know the motivations of this other character. We only know the motivation of OP's character. But that being said, it felt like from how this is, because all these stories we have to just take at face value. Like I'm going with the information that's given to me. If the other character knew what was happening, knew what your motivations were, knew why, or knew what you were trying to do, and went against that anyway, that is not a good group dynamic. Tension in groups is it can be a fun story element. It can be a great role-playing moment, but that needs to develop, and there needs to be either compromise or some sort of end to that story, opposed to just, follow what this guy does, and then we're gonna just leave what you wanted to do. I get that. I feel like you being undermined because you want to do something, and somebody else was like, no, I'm taking over, and we're not doing that. Sucks. That being said, the DM also should have known what you were trying to do, and yes, do what the party wants, and then this could also be looked as railroading if the DM forced them to stay for one reason or another. But if anything, if you stuck with the group, which I understand leaving because you got one person who wants to do what they want to do, and then you have everybody else who has a weak spine. The DM could have brought that story into the future parts of the campaign, and there could have been consequences for this character's actions, and in turn, this character could have been screwed over hard by killing all these vampires. And let's say you stuck with the campaign, you ditch this character, and you make a new character because this character's pissed off that he was undermined. Talk to the DM. You might have a new BBEG. That could have been cool. But I do understand just straight up leaving this group because you don't feel listened to. I feel like this would have been more of a talk to the DM more than anything. Because, that other person's a piece of shit. You'd be like, hey, DM, so I was trying to do this thing, but he was, like, totally not letting me. So it's a hard situation. I'm siding with the OP here. I might have not left so early or left as quick. That might have been, again, something I would want to talk to DM about with, like, the story. Or, honestly, I would have been loud about it, personally. But yeah, not too much to be said. The other people are just shitty. Let's see what comments say. Yeah, another player being against you doesn't sound like fun. This is player versus player, rather. Railroading. See, yeah, that's more player versus player. Railroading doesn't really exist if it's not a DM or GM. But yes, the GM does appear complicit. So it's part DM's fault, part player fault, for sure. So I agree with this guy. You made the right call, but maybe not for the reason you were focused on. Any game where the player is getting away with this on a regular basis is a game where the DM is choosing not to mediate. 100% agree. If one player is going to keep acting like that, it will encourage repetition and retaliation until the entire table is toxic. Stopping that cycle and keeping everyone on the same page is a big chunk of the DM's responsibility. And maybe the most important one, I'd rather be in a disorganized game with mid-combat than a game like yours. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Yeah, so 100% I would agree. This is a very big DM issue where the DM was not helping you with your story. If you wanted to have this be part of your character growth, or this would be a big character moment, he could have done something to keep these people all on the island. Like, I mean, killing a bunch of vampires would piss off the Coven, and they would have been able to find out where you're at. So, I agree. So, yeah, so my advice, like, I'm going to try to give advice at the end of all these. My advice would be a good player. This goes to, goes back to, you know, being a good player and being a good DM. Be a good player. Yes, DM did not mediate at all, but a good player would, you know, do what their character would do, but also lean into the story that other players want to tell with their characters. If you're trying to take the spotlight or just ignore everybody else, then you're not being a good player. You are being a very selfish douchebag player. So, like, being a good player doesn't mean that you know how to metagame or you know how to power game and be able to make the best character and have a cool backstory. Being a good player means that you serve the story and you are there for everybody else's story, not just your own. This other player clearly didn't do that. Okay. This one goes into player conflict, it looks like. Or not player conflict, but player or something else. This one, just the title alone got me interested. And this has a lot of likes. So there's a lot going on here. My player fell in love with me, the DM. But I'm married and one of the players is my husband. Player fell in love with me. Not character fell in love with an NPC. There's a very, very, very clear distinction there. DMs flirting with characters is fine. I've had, having, my wife play in the games with me, having one of my friends' character marry one of my wife's characters, keeping it just character based, knowing that these are just the stories the characters are telling, is fine, as long as everybody's on the same page with that. As long as it doesn't leak into the real world, Here, it's leaking. It's leaking hard. All right, let's see what the actual fucking post is. I'm typing this on mobile, so apologize for the formatting. I have been playing D&D with my husband for 5 years. And this is my first campaign DMing. We are playing with his friend group who are Pat, Mary, and Dylan. Not real names. By the way, I don't know why people care about, don't use people's last names, sure, but first names, shouldn't matter, especially if they have very standard names like Pat, Mary, and Dylan. If those were their real names, who cares? It's just for first names. Anyway. It's a pet peeve with Reddit stories for me. Just use names. We have been playing for the last 3 months, and everything has been going great so far. The party works well together, and there's really no issue except Dylan. Oh, Dylan. Dylan is playing a half-orc barbarian who fell in love with a half-elf named Sheila, and this has been a progression storyline. For reference, he is not the only one who is romancing an NPC, and the rest of the party is not has not professed their love over text to me. Okay. Okay. After the session last night, the group went home and Dylan sent me a bunch of texts saying that he had noticed tension between us and that we can't deny it, and he's open to taking the next steps. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! That's not that's not good. Ooh, that's not Yep, straight up, like, this motherfucker knows. This motherfucker knows that the husband's right there. They know that she's married. There's no way Dylan doesn't know that she's married. Absolutely no way. So the fact that he thinks, one, that he has a chance, like, the delusion on this dude. The delusion is nutty. Okay, that's insane. So the tension is probably from character to character, not player to player. Your characters are one thing, the players are a separate thing. If you're feeling tension, that's on you. And maybe she's feeling awkward because she doesn't RP romance that well. So the tension might just be awkward from role-playing romance opposed to having feelings for you, you deluded sack of... I was trying to think of something creative. No, it's just delusion. Just pure delusion. I am horrified, of course, and inform my husband immediately because this is his friend. My husband texts Dylan for a bit and then calls and berates him for his actions. Dylan then says that my husband is standing in the way of our... Oh, God. Gee, nope. Kick him out. You just kick him out from there. Of our love, and my husband hangs up and blocks him on both of our phones. We discuss next step and decide to cancel D&D for the time being because I am freaked out. The rest of the group is understanding, but man, it has been a weird Christmas. Oh, that's a horror story. That's a story of horrors. Okay. The next steps are kick him out. He's not friends with your husband anymore. He's not friends with you anymore. And everybody should stop talking to him. Like, if your other friends have any sort of integrity, they will all stop talking to him. That is fucked. Like, it's one thing to be I'm not saying it's wrong to be in a situation where you are polyamorous or are willing to do things with other people. That's different. If there has to be consent on every run and all around. But this deluded sad sack of crazy peanuts there's a monogamous relationship, and he thinks that he has the hots for this chick, and he thinks that he has a chance, and then he thinks there's something going on. This is weird, like, stalker mentality, by the way. He thinks there's something going on. There's something definitely not going on. And then he tells this crazy shit to the husband? No. That's absolutely insane. There is no redeeming that. You can't just be friends with that. Like, you can't return from that. Like, if there was some weird misunderstanding where, like, it was a player, like, leaning a little bit into the flirtatious stuff on the character, and then the DM thought they were flirting with them personally, but then the player was like, no, I was just really getting into the role play, but it was just me and my character, and then it's, yeah. Like, that could be a situation that happens. But this guy is nutty. He is not okay. He needs to find somebody, but not in this friend group, because he needs to find a new friend group. Maybe seek some help. Definitely. This guy is, again, just full of delusion. And the balls that he has to go and talk to the husband is insane. So yeah, no, there's nothing else you could do, though. Just kick him out. Tell everybody to kick him out of the friend group. There's no going back from that. There is no coming back from that. Everybody just needs to go no contact with them, and then you can just continue playing D&D with all the other, hopefully, sane people and have a good old time. Don't cancel D&D because of one asshole. Just kick the asshole out and be done with it. That's how you deal with that. Let's look at some comments. Weird as fuck. Sorry you're having to deal with this, but it sounds like you're both responding correctly. Maybe just eject this dude from the group and keep going. Just write him out. 100%. Plenty of groups have done it. Critical Role did it 10 years ago. You just bye. That's probably what we will do, but I'm sad my first time DMing has been tainted because of this. Okay, so that's the thing about, that's the scary thing about this line right here. My first time DMing has been tainted because of this. Going online, you see a lot of horror stories, you see a lot of bad things could happen, and that could definitely skew your perception on things, on certain games or certain aspects of games. And I just want to say that don't let the bad people ruin the good hobby. Don't let the people who suck ruin everything for them. That's like, I have the same opinion on fandoms. The My Hero Academia fandom, the crazy ones, which is not the entire fandom, but the ones that are loud about, you know what, if you know My Hero Academia, you know these types of fans, those should not ruin you watching the show. It shouldn't. Now, I'm kind of guilty of this. Like, if something gets pushed on me too much, or if there are fans that seem culty, I don't want to be a part of that, so I just don't indulge with that, which is also pretty okay, which is fine in some cases. But in general, if you like doing D&D, don't let this asshole ruin D&D for you. Just kick him out, try again, and just kind of wipe your memory from this event. Just play with your friends. Definitely don't play with. And if this is a scare, and if this is definitely something that has like tainted it, don't play with strangers. Don't go to your local game store and then try to DM for randos, because most likely than not, that's gonna go wrong. Just play with friends, and you'll be golden. All right, so that was 2 D&D horror stories that I felt like was a fun, well, very very interesting situations that people get into. I'm not one who really gets into a lot of these types of situations because I normally play with friends exclusively. There have been some situations that have arisen in my past. But it's interesting to see what other people go through, because I don't go through 99% of what these people have gone through on D&D horror stories and other Reddit posts from other users and areas. But yeah, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, subscribe. If you want to see more of this kind of content, definitely voice your opinion on that, as I like to do. And if there's any suggestions on type of content you want to see, I am also open for ears. If you want to see more from me, there's links down below for all my other adventures and content. And until next time, bye.